The Tour crosses borders again today. After having visited Andorra and Spain, it's now time for Switzerland. And while the main focus of the race centres around the prospect of anybody being able to challenge Chris Froome, today the attention has shifted to Fabian Cancellara. Can the popular Swiss star win on home soil? Hello and welcome to stage 16 of the Tour de France. Stage 16, it's the last of the stages of more than 200 kilometres. 208 Ks with the big journey from the French village of Morane-en-Montagne through to the Swiss capital of Bern. Although it's a stage that is designated to be one for the sprinters, it's anything but flat. There's only one Category 4 climb towards the end, but the last 5 kilometres are tricky, and it includes a couple of cobbled sections. A minute's silence was paid by all those of us working on the Tour de France today to mark the 3 days of mourning and the 3 days of respect following the tragedy in Nice, where we saw those awful attacks and more than 80 people losing their lives. The race goes on as it has done ever since, and the Tour de France making a statement that our lifestyles will not be impeded. Christian Prudhomme continues to wear the black armband, the flag coming in to get racing started. Not surprisingly, the IM cycling team, a Swiss outfit trying to get things rolling. But the two men who are off the front, Tony Martin along with Julian Alaphilippe, both of them from edX Quickstep. An incredibly fast first hour, the two of them off the front. They covered 49.5 kilometres within the first hour of racing. Stage heading to Bern today, the Swiss capital. Stages of the Tour de Suisse have been held here quite regularly in the last 10 years, and Tony Martin has finished in second place on a stage here. That was an individual time trial when he was beaten by Fabian Cancellara. These are the chasers, looking to see whether they can bridge the gap. This is Breen at the back of the group for the Fortunato Vital Concept team. Lawson Craddock for the Canal Drapac squad. Good to see him in the break, Lawson Craddock. He's had a tough tour as a result of the crashes that he's been involved in. So Timo Ruzen in the yellow colours of Lotto NL Jumbo. The first time we've seen the Dutchman off the front. The main rider in the breakaway so far for Lotto NL Jumbo has been the Kiwi, George Bennett, who once again was in the breakaway yesterday. No threats up the road in terms of the race for the general classification. Of the two leaders, Alaphilippe and Tony Martin, Alaphilippe is the best placed overall, 40th position at 1 hour, 7 minutes and 50 seconds behind. Still in the department of the Jura, where they raced through yesterday and there was lots of climbing. Second on the stage yesterday for Rafael Majka. But he has moved back into the lead of the race for the King of the Mountains jersey. Matej Bodnar is the rider that he is alongside. It's a 37-point advantage in the race for that jersey for Rafael Majka, ahead of Thomas de Gendt. In third position is the Spanish climber Dani Navarro. And Navarro was in the break yesterday. So too was this man. This is Alberto Lasada now, who's on the front for Katusha. They have one of the favourites for the stage today, and that is Alexander Kristoff. Kristoff was second on the stage a couple of days ago, the sprint finish to the Parc d'Oiseau, which was the 4th win for Mark Cavendish. And no chasing just as yet from Dimension Data on Mandela Day. And I think towards the back end of the stage, we'll see the Dimension Data team come to the front, and I expect today to be more a chance for Edvald Boasson perhaps than Mark Cavendish. We'll see. But never underestimate Mark Cavendish. It's a tricky sort of a finish. Not too far away from departing this French soil and across the border into Switzerland. But we are being welcomed. Slightly ahead of schedule at the moment. Still 146 kilometres to go, but it has been an incredibly fast start to the stage. So as we take a look at the Chateau de Joux, which is the castle of the Cheek, was firstly built of wood, and that was then rebuilt in the 12th century with a big border fortress around the outside. For a little while it served as a state prison, then as an artillery fort, and it was occupied by the military from the latter part of the 11th century, when it was firstly built of wood and then later on in stone, up until 1940. And you can still see plenty of the architecture reflecting that it was a military fort. They've now got a weapons museum within this beautiful old chateau, and perched nicely on the top of the hill so they can see any advancing troops coming up through the valley. Just about entering the feed zone, 1 kilometre before they get there at the front of the race. And it's still Tony Martin who is setting the tempo.
And that's a great shot that shows you the difference in cadence between the two riders. Tony Martin always looking to be just 1 gear bigger than Julian Alaphilippe. Tony Martin renowned for riding those big gears, pounding away in the time trials, sometimes even riding a 56 front chainring on the time trial bike. And on one occasion I even heard of him riding a custom-made 58, which if your legs aren't long enough are going to give you problems because it's going to start to catch.
Knock your knee as it goes around. That's a big chain ring. Rowan Dennis at the front. This is good preparation.
I was thinking more give you groin problems.
This is more preparation for Rowan Dennis as he looks towards the Rio Olympics, where he wants to be a contender for a gold medal in the individual time trial. But the favourite at this point is Tom Dumoulin after his ride here on stage 13 with an incredible win. More than a minute quicker than Chris Froome.
I think the thing you can look at, looking towards the Rio Olympics time trial, Tom Dumoulin, Rowan Dennis, others, Cancellara, is that in Rio it's a one-off, one-day time trial, where the time trial in the Tour de France came after 12 hard days of racing. It was the 13th stage. It's more suitable to the guy who recovers better day to day, a guy who's maybe a little bit better climber than the others, who digests all that climbing work a little more easily than the others, and he's able to access the top shelf of his time trialling abilities compared to others who may be suffering a little bit more, don't quite have that edge. Rowan Dennis seems to perform very well on one-day time trials when he's fully fresh.
And he did say in that individual time trial that he felt terrible. At one point, he almost sat up and stopped really having a go at that individual time trial. William Bonnet at the back of the peloton for FDJ. And there's the yellow jersey of Adam Yates sitting in third last position. That's dangerous. And look at the split starting to appear because of the tempo that has been set at the front. That's a dangerous position for Adam Yates to be in. It's a long way from 180th wheel to the front of the peloton.
He's got a couple of teammates with him, and there is the catch of that group that has been riding in between. So already Eddie had dropped back. And just let's try and spot if he's dropped into the front of the peloton and already started taking up the chase. But the rest, Breen and Co, and here is Ede, so he was just off the front of that group having something to eat, and I would expect him to drop into the front and start doing some work as Tony Martin and Julian Alaphilippe are leaving the feed zone. Fin de ravitaillement.
Look at the length of the peloton.
Thanks to Rowan Dennis.
Thanks or no thanks to Rowan Dennis?
Depends who you are. Greg Van Avermaet saying thank you, Rowan Dennis. Adam Yates at the moment is saying, oh no, what are you doing, Rowan Dennis? Can you just hold back for a moment while I move up? Because I'm sitting a bit far back as leader of the white jersey competition.
Well, he'll need the telephone to communicate with him because he won't hear him if he yells out. He's too far up the road and the wind will be brushing past his ears at close to 50 kilometres per hour because that's the speed that they're moving along at.
For Adam Yates to move up, that'll be giving his teammates an effort that they would maybe rather not make, but you see how it's bunching up around the middle of the peloton there. A lot of guys now got the signal, got the idea that, oh, it's not good to just sit in the back of the peloton and relax because it's going to be too strung out. A lot of teams moving their leader first. This really is the start of the chase of Tony Martin, and now it has just clicked under and back over 5 minutes. Tony Martin, he's not just going to start drifting backwards. You're going to have to battle every second with him.
And seeing that it's Tony Martin and Julian Alaphilippe off the front, two riders from edX Quick-Step, teammates of Marcel Kittel, edX Quick-Step don't believe that Marcel Kittel can win the stage today.
Well, the pressure is hurting, and the Irish rider Sam Bennett has just been unhooked on this climb. Sam is struggling. He's at 187th in the Tour. The last man at 3 hours and 11 minutes. Sorry, he's 185th at the moment. He's on the back of the peloton and has lost now more than 3 hours. But he's getting through to the rest day, and then he hopefully will recover for the last ride up to Paris.
Well, Tony Martin throwing away that bottle. This is the summit of the climb, and all of a sudden, poor old Julian Alaphilippe. Oh, I can tell you one thing, Phil. It hurts for this youngster here.
Big effort, Julian. Don't let them ride away from you now. 24 kilometres, 15 miles still to go. Got to spectate. That wasn't a spectator, it was one of the team members.
No, in fact, it was one of the team members. The same gentleman just a few moments ago handed up a bottle to Tony Martin. That was a pre-organised handing up of bottles, as we now start to get to 24.5 kilometres to go. Just having a quick look, IAM Cycling, they're moving also towards the front end of the peloton. Let's not forget, they're the only official Swiss team in this race, and they're all very happy, I think, about the victory yesterday of their Colombian rider, Jarlinson Pantano.
Well, life at the back here now. At the moment, this is very strange. I'm not too sure why Marcel Kittel has slipped down to the back here, but I'm not sure he's seeing this finish as a day for him just now.
I think he's paid for the effort of dragging his body through the mountains, and that doesn't bode well for the next few days after the rest day, because there is no respite from the mountains from Wednesday onwards, right the way down till the final flat stage on the Champs-Élysées. All of the other days are in the high Alps.
This is a huge effort by Kieser here, his teammate, to take him back up to the race here. But Marcel does not like hills at all, and he's got a nasty cobble one just before the finish. Tony Martin continues to make it look so easy, like he has all day, with massive power output to bring this race through, a faster average than was ever envisaged by the race organisers today. And the peloton are saying, for goodness sake, just let us catch you up. This is Alaphilippe. He's been tailed by the look of it.
But you know, it's so hard having been in a long breakaway like that. As he looks over his shoulder, he's probably looking to see what the position is of Marcel Kittel, hoping that he can have some assistance on the running towards the finishing line. Marcel Kittel, he hasn't quite had the tour that he wanted to, but you know, when you see a guy like Mark Cavendish get the first victory under the belt, you've got that psychological advantage, you've got that freedom of a sprinter to take risks and hold back and not be too nervous.
Well, you know, at the moment, we're still on the gradient here, riding at something like 22 miles an hour in the case of Tony Martin. And Chris Froome and the bunch there also riding similar speeds. But it's top and tail. They've got Martin at the front. There he is. They've got riders trying to keep the sprinter in. Even Alaphilippe, who's been dropped, is trying to get back in to help get Marcel Kittel back into the group. And try, because once over the top, this is when the road continues to climb on the contour after the climb itself.
I think it's job done for Marcel Kittel today, and besides the fact that the running towards the finish inside of the final 2 kilometres is just a little bit too hard for him. Yeah, well, he's made a good move, and now he's putting once again Team BMC onto the ropes, and they're going to have to really wind this up. They feel they've got a great chance of winning with their man Craig van Avermaet, and I don't think anybody expected this sort of a move. But after such a hard day as we left France behind us and moved into Switzerland, this is the sort of move that on a day like this, a hard day, it could work. And he's actually already starting to open out his advantage there. a touring cyclist just on the inside. Just get an idea there that touring cyclist could not even keep up with the speed of the main field. And bear in mind, they've done about 120 miles today. Rui Costa, as I said, the former world champion as well, though, Rui Costa, and that was a title that really brought him up to the fore, and that was back in 2013. His victories in the Tour of Switzerland, 3 in a row. He really enjoyed the racing in Switzerland. He didn't ride last year in 2015, but going back to 2014, 13 and 12, he was the winner overall in that Tour. 14 seconds advantage, and it's Dimension Data, Direct Energy, and another rider from BMC still trying to stay involved. This could be a very interesting move by Rui Costa, who I said, Phil, really does enjoy racing in Switzerland.
Well, Costa, and we're hearing now of riders being dropped from the rear of the group now, so the pressure is on. I don't think that Marcel Kittel ever came back.
I'll tell you one thing, Phil, there will be a lot of riders very happy to get to Bern and the finishing line here just outside the Expo Centre, because it's been a very tough day for everyone. There's never been a moment of respite. It's been hammered down since the 10th kilometre because they could not allow any freedom to Tony Martin, such is the reputation of the big man from Germany in the solitary effort. But these roads in Switzerland are very fast. The road surfaces are beautiful. It's a much smoother road surface in Switzerland, and the climbs or the inclines are not quite as to the world, and that may well go against Rui Costa, who's doing a phenomenal job just now, but he's still only holding on to a 10-second advantage. And there is not one specified team of the sprinters doing the pacemaking behind. There's 3 or 4 different teams. This is Cummings of Dimension Data, the quick flick of the arm there, and that is to ask the rider from BMC Racing to come forward. 15 kilometres to go. We're now inside of 10 miles of racing towards the finish, and that's the main field, but you can see the gaps really are starting to appear at the back.
Freewheeling here at the rear of the peloton. A number of riders have been dropped from the back of this peloton now. The pressure definitely on. No news of Marcel Kittel coming back. This is Rui Costa here. He's had some great results. He was 7th in the Tour of Switzerland, which passed through this area in June. There's no return for Kittel today now, so that's one sprinter they haven't got to worry about.
Well, I'm not sure they need to worry about too many of the sprinters. This has been such an incredibly hard stage this afternoon that this final 5 kilometres, Phil, I think will be 5 kilometres of survival, trying to hold your position at the front end of the main field, which is why I think it'll actually be to the advantage of the hard man sprinters, guys like Michael Matthews. Peter Sagan is certainly a big favourite on everybody's lips. Fabian Cancellara actually, I think, will have taken advantage of a tough day like this. At 35 years of age, he's got the experience to know every kilometre, every centimetre, I suppose, of this running towards a finish. And this finishing line, he will know. He's won here 3 times in the past, twice in the individual time trial of the Tour of Switzerland, and once in a road race with a last-minute attack at about 1.5 kilometres to go. And if anybody knows that final cobble climb, Phil, he does.
He knows all these roads here. He lives only 5 kilometres from the finishing line of today's stage of the Tour de France. He will never ride the Tour de France again. This is his retirement year, and he's treated us to so many great results, as Paul has told us there. But Rui Costa has also won 3 times as far as the Tour de France is concerned. Alex Howes is going off the back at the moment, and Rowan Dennis did a great job in trying to keep this race in contact, and also George Bennett now dropping off the back as well.
Well, you know, the funny thing is, Phil, I'm getting a little bit of information from out on the race, and instead of the team Orica Bike Exchange riding for Michael Matthews today, they're actually, let's not forget, it is Nelson Mandela Day. Apparently they're actually going to try and work for Daryl Impey. What a story that would be.
It would be, and Daryl Impey comes from South Africa, and you know, it's a great finish for him. He's the sort of guy that could handle that cobbled hill.
And the form,
I don't know why we never thought of it.
And the form that he has shown, Phil, since the start of this race, he was instrumental the other day of getting the victory for Michael Matthews, that maybe the team will turn around and offer the favour. I mean, what a story that would be. I mean, we've got the South African team, Dimension Data, trying to get themselves a victory on Mandela Day, and you've got a South African, the first South African ever, the first African ever to wear the yellow jersey in the Tour de France, Daryl Impey, trying to get the win too.
Have other ideas because they're getting all of their squad to the front now, and they're thinking of Greg van Avermaet as the likely man. He will be able to cope with the cobble climb. The yellow jersey of Chris Froome, who knows, he's got the strength to go up those cobble hills. Had a very, very quiet day today. The Norwegian jersey there of Edvald Boasson-Hagen, another likely candidate for a strongman finish.
So I suppose what you're trying to say, Phil, is we don't really know who's going to win on a day like this, which has been really tough out on the course. Since the 10th kilometre, since those two guys, Julian Alaphilippe and Tony Martin, got clear, there has been absolutely no respite. There will be a lot of tired bodies in this final few kilometres. Hey, let's not forget, by the way, Rui Costa is still leading this race by a quarter of a minute.
He's gaining time. It's a tough gain, but he is gaining the right way. 15 seconds at the moment. He's settled down nicely. He's just the quality of the man. If he gets to that cobble hill, it could be the whole race over for the rest. BMC will try to get their man here because it's the home of their bicycles that they ride. The owner lives here, and that's what they want to deliver, but there's so many reasons. Fabian Cancellara must be a bag of nerves down there now. His family are waiting for him. The Tour de France coming into his home city. It's the last time he rides. He's worn yellow. He's won all of the stage of the Tour, and he's going to be inspired.
There's so many, it's just so difficult to call a stage like this on the eve of the final rest day in the Tour de France. If you're sitting at the back of the group like this, well, you've got no chance of winning the stage here this afternoon. You've got to be in the front 15 to 25 positions. That's where the winner of today's stage will come, and we're now looking at inside of 12 kilometres to go. And BMC, Phil, they told us pretty much over the last couple of days that this is a stage for their man Greg van Avermaet, and they've got to pull back Rui Costa, who's still holding on to a quarter of a minute advantage. If anybody can pull this off, it's Rui Costa. If you've won the World Road Racing Championships, that's a pretty big reference of how good you can be.
Well, they're continuing to slip away off the back of the race there. Marcel Seeberg, a big lead-out man for Andre Greipel, who has already said this is not the finish for him. That looked like Christopher Juul Jensen going off the back for Orica Bike Exchange. He's having a tough ride in this year's Tour de France. There's the pack. About 12, 14 seconds there at the moment. They've got him in the gun sights now. It's been a very impressive ride by Rui Costa here.
Yeah, but the problem is, Phil, these wide roads, the big boulevards here as we come to the outskirts of Bern are very difficult for a lone rider to escape, because you're pretty much always in the sights of the main peloton, and that's what they're currently doing. They've spread out across the road here. They know the amount of energy they need to take, and they know how to time themselves to pull him in at the last possible moment.
I saw that Rui Costa look over his shoulder, and he really got quite a boost by the fact his gap was holding off here, and he keeps on saying to himself, I'm sure, just let me get to that hill. Get onto the hill first, because all of this traffic furniture around here is causing a lot of stress in the peloton.
Well, he's going to get a bit of respite from the sunshine in a little while, because he'll go into a tunnel at 5 kilometres to go. Cavendish, Phil, by the way, is riding inside of the top 20, so he wants to ride in that position, and he will try and hold himself to the front of the pack to see whether or not he can crest the top of that nasty little cobble climb inside of the top 10-15 places in the main field. Now, if he does that, the final 1.2 kilometre sprint towards the line would suit the man from the Isle of Man.
As we race across the city of Bern now. Jens Rui Costa, a brilliant show, but does he have a chance?
I'm not sure. He's holding them off really good, and if it would be kind of like a flat run in, yes, but there's a hill, and he's gonna, having used all his punch power so far, he will have nothing left to give once he come to a little uphill piece, so he's gonna get caught by the peloton and not even make it in the top 100. A brave attempt, but very little chance.
Yeah, but Jens, you've got to think about the fact that today has not been an easy day in the Tour de France. Everybody is right on the limit.
Yeah, but there's still too many fresh legs. They are willing to chase him down for their leaders. It's just too many people behind there. They are still wanting to work and chase him. See, there's Steve Cummings. He just swings off. His job is done. Fresh legs coming in. So I'm afraid they're going to get him before the line.
Well, we've just gone under 5 kilometres to go now. He's sticking to his guns here. They've said 7 seconds under that banner was the official time gap. Riders are being shed all of the time. Take a look at this now. 5 kilometres out. The peloton is just giving up at the back.
Lots of riders now in serious stress at the back end. Now it looks to me, Phil, as if it's pretty much all over for Rui Costa. You can tell by his body language, he knows it's done. He is now inside of 5 kilometres to go, being caught by the main field.
Caught around 4 to go. Now there are only 8 Swiss riders in the Tour de France today. A massive crowd has turned out to watch them here in Bern. It's not a #1 sport in this country, but they do have 1 or 2 major races. And I'll tell you, the city of Bern has turned out in its tens of thousands here to watch the race finish. Now, IAM Cycling, who got the winner yesterday, Jonas and Pantano, also feel they can do something here now because they've moved up to the front.
Well, I think it's really, Phil, just because of this approach to the line with the nasty little cobble climber. Oh, look how tight it is as they come around these corners. That's the little hairpin just between 3.5 and 4.5 kilometres to go.
It would not surprise me to see Pantano, who won yesterday, try a move on this cobble climb. He's got the strength to stay clear over the top.
I just keep looking down this long line of riders to look for a rider in a black and white jersey, and that would be the rider from Trek Segafredo. This is the nasty little corner round towards the right. It's almost a hairpin bend.
Well, as they make the right-hand turn, it looks as though they're getting around it safely. Very close, some of them, to the barrier as the riders continue now. As we cross the river, we run onto like a little isthmus here as we get into the centre of Bern.
Well, there they go under the bridge, which links the main part of Bern to the other side of the bridge. They're getting themselves well organised, but very shortly, Phil, they come through 2 kilometres to go. And that's when they kind of turn around back on themselves, and that's when they will hit this nasty little cobbled climb.
They just passed under 3 kilometres to go now as they run down the banks of the river. It is a very, very difficult race. There's the cobbles beginning now. That reminds us Bern is a very old city. Just trying to see how many riders are left here, but realistically, if you're not in the first 20 riders here, I doubt you can get back up to the front now.
Well, that's the big problem, and that's what a guy like Mark Cavendish will be hoping for. Rui Costa, well, he tried, and it was a valiant attempt by the former Portuguese national champion to pull off the surprise this afternoon, but it has been just too difficult on this stage. You can see the red and black jersey still in control of the peloton as we look at speeds in excess of 32 miles an hour, and it's still BMC Racing.
Well, we're looking for a white jersey of Fabian Cancellara. He will know when it's time to come here. Oh, and they've overshot that corner, took it very, very wide. And I'm not sure, but I think it's Cancellara who's come off that barrier.
Well, I'm not sure.
It was probably IAM. It was
an IAM cycling rider, but I'm just hearing that Brian Coquard has been dropped from the back end of the main field. So this cobble climb is a cobble climb just a little bit too far for him.
Well, looking down from the helicopter here, it looks to me as though these are the riders who've been dropped, and it looks to me as though he might have fallen off as well there. As with on this cobble climb, they're just scrabbling for wheels here at the moment, and there's an attack from Lotto Jumbo here.
Inside of 2 kilometres to go. This is the moment, if you've got the legs, to try and stretch your advantage over the peloton. Hovering in the front line of the main field, Phil, was a green jersey, a dark green jersey, and that was Peter Sagan.
It's a sort of move I'd expect to see to come from Sepp van Mark. I can't see anybody else because Kelderman, I think, hasn't got those legs, but he's given a good shot.
That is Raimunas Navadauskas. He's got a slightly different jersey from everybody else, Phil, because he's the national champion of Lithuania.
We're just looking to the left now. We've got the green jersey of Peter Sagan, and just behind him is Degenkolb. Behind Degenkolb is Bosenhagen there, and Chris Anker Sorensen's in 4th place at the moment. Everybody hanging on, but look at this. Peter Sagan here is organised once again. Warren Barguil who's making the pace up the front here to try and get other riders up.
Well, Michael Matthews is not far away either, but Warren Barguil, Phil, is doing the work here, not for himself this afternoon. He's doing the work for the rider in 3rd place. That's his teammate, John Degenkolb. Remember, Phil, both of those riders were in that nasty accident together at the start of the year when they were training in Spain.
Yes, they were. That was in January. Now we're in July. They've fully recovered, but what a long, painful road it has been. Warren Barguil, Peter Sagan. What a story it would be if the rider in 3rd place could win this. That would announce bouncy return. 1 kilometre to go. Paul, I think it could have been Alexander Kristoff.
Well, we're going to have to wait, Phil, for a photo again on that one. This Tour de France has been a Tour de France of photos. That was so very close.
That'll be the third one that's had to go to the photo in this amazing Tour de France for the sprinters after a climb like that.
Well, there was no fairy tale ending for Fabian Cancellara, but what a dramatic... I mean, Phil, look at the damage a 1.5 kilometre climb towards the end has done.
There's a few seconds lost for some of the overall leaders in the Tour de France on this running.
There's Navadauskas just crossing the line. He was the guy who attacked at about 1.5 kilometres to go, and all of a sudden he's lost almost 40 seconds.
Well, we'll have to wait and see how our pictures play out when they organise the replays. Here's the first one. Sagan obviously in green. Watch the bottom.
Oh, well, you know, he lifted his front wheel off the line.
Kristoff thinks yes.
Well, yeah, he looks... You know, we saw Andre Greipel do this the other day, and when they went and looked at the photo, sorry, Andre, it was...
Here we go. As they come up to the line, oh no, Kristoff thinks no, because that is a win for Peter Sagan.
Peter Sagan in the throw for the line, Phil, gets that again by a couple of centimetres. That was pretty amazing.
And a second place for Alexander Kristoff. It's Michael Matthews in our picture there, who is getting third place on the line. What an amazing finish. And we said the sprinters wouldn't have their day. My goodness me.
Well, we expected that Bern was going to be exciting. Have another quick look at this. Kristoff, as he throws his bike for the line, thinks, yeah, I've got this. But watch when Peter Sagan looks across. He's not quite sure, even himself at that moment there, coming up there. But when we got the side shot, it was all about on the finishing line, judging it to perfection. Once again, Peter Sagan gets himself another victory. Well, we're waiting for confirmation, but the side shot there made me think that, yep, have a look at this. They were all there. There's John Degenkolb, and he's back to sprinting form on the left-hand side, just up alongside Peter Sagan. Over on the right, Fabian Cancellara. Well, he will finish inside of the top 10. Michael Matthews on the right-hand side in the dark blue. He should cross the line in third. Sagan, bike handler extraordinaire, threw his bike just at the right time. We're waiting for actual confirmation, but I'm pretty sure Mr. Sagan, Phil, got that one.
I'm going to go with you, Paul, and thank you, Fabian, in German, of course, which is the national language of this part of Switzerland, which speaks 3 languages, by the way, Italian, French and German. And Fabian Cancellara, well, he couldn't quite get mixed up with that one, Paul. That hill didn't break them up like we thought it would.
Well, at 35 years of age, Phil, you know, he's been around for such a long time. And Matthew Keenan, I have to tell you one thing, what a finish that was.
It was an extraordinary finish, and the closest of margins yet again. It's been so tight. This time the photo going in the favour of Peter Sagan. But the throw by Alexander Kristoff, and you saw the back wheel hopping out sideways there in the last few metres. I get the impression he's gone across the line and then he's thrown the bike. He appears to have been a bit confused as to where the line was based on those sponsor logos. Peter Sagan got it right, and Oleg Tinkov thinks he is number 1. His third win this year, Peter Sagan, and he's extended his lead in the race for the green jersey. And it's pandemonium surrounding the stage winner. Alexander Kristoff at this point will be very disappointed, no doubt. Sagan going to his supporters. The city of Bern, it was nice to see Fabian Cancellara in amongst it. There was no TV time attack from Fabian Cancellara. He was playing out the best strategy that he knew how to potentially win the stage. And he's got his wife with him as well. Nice moment for Peter Sagan. Watch his back wheel skip here. Finish line, and then he's thrown after the finish line. A little bit of confusion for Alexander Kristoff with the sponsor logos. A lot of people making the comment that Sagan wins by a hair. That would be a large margin based on Peter Sagan's hair. Fabian Cancellara will actually add to the fan base of Peter Sagan, because Cancellara is a rider that has got full respect for the man who wears the green jersey. And the Norwegians, they get second and third. Enger in third position, his best result of the race in his first Tour de France. Christophe in second spot. Alejandro Valverde mixing the sprint finish in real time. It all happened so quickly. The shadows wreaking havoc with the throw of Alexander Christophe.